So this video, we're going to focus on negative exponents. I brought it up in the previous video, but really didn't delve in so much. So let's talk about this. So one thing I know when I was in school, I did have math teachers just kind of like tell me to memorize rules, and I really had a hard time unless I actually like knew what was going on. So I'm going to explain to you why this is all working, and yeah, we're going to go for it. Okay, so x to the third means x times x times x, right? Which written without exponents or whatever. X to the second means x times x, which is x to the second power, right? X to the first power is just x, right? So we're sort of taking an x away every time. Technically, every step we're going, we're actually just sort of dividing by an x, right? Because what's x to the third divided by an x? Brings us to x to the second, right? And then x to the second divided by an x brings us to x to the first. What is x divided by x? 1. Anything divided by itself is 1, which is why anything to the 0 power is 1. Let's take that one step further, right? We're going down in our numbers over here on the left. Now we've entered a negative land. What is 1 divided by x? It's nothing fancy. 1 divided by x. So if you have a negative exponent, essentially, you're just moving its location to sort of make it be able to make it positive. So again, if we go one step further, divide by another x, we have 1 over x, which is what we had in the previous step, divided by x, bringing us to 1 over x to the second power. So this might seem really confusing, but I know this helps some students. There are some students that thrive on just getting the rule. There are some students that thrive on understanding it. It's a really weird year, so I'm just trying to throw everything out there at you. But the main takeaway is if you have a negative exponent, you need to change its location and make it positive. And this also illustrates why anything to the 0 power is 1. All right, so here we have this -1 exponent. So what basically happens is I'm just going to rewrite this one real quick because it's fine where he is. There's nothing wrong with k to the second being in the denominator, but this is not okay. Okay, so we're going to move down to the bottom and make it positive. So when you switch the location, you're mathematically allowed to make the exponent positive. And that's like our goal here. We don't want negative exponents. So taking that even one step further, 1, and then when you're, since now these are being multiplied, you want to add the exponents. So 2 plus 1 is 3. So you get 1 over k to the third. For our more mathematically inclined people, you could still do the trick we did last time where you just straight up subtract. We got -1 minus 2, which brings us to -3, which would mean, hey, we got to move it to a denominator, make it positive, and either way, you get the same answer. All right, so now we're going to deal with this one. That negative out in front, that's not a negative exponent. We're not messing with it. The fraction is just negative, nothing more to that. B to the second. Now this guy, not cool. Like we could have had a fraction bar, whatever. But this guy is not okay in the basement. So we bring him upstairs to the kitchen to make him happy. And this looks really ugly and terrible, right? Let's clean this up. Really, when you have only stuff in a numerator, you don't actually need it to be a fraction anymore, right? You could use 1 as a placeholder if you really wanted to, but anything divided by 1 is itself. Like 3 divided by 1 is just 3. So we get to eliminate the fact that we have a fraction here. We do have a negative, and b to the second times b to the first is b to the third. Multivariable. Let's deal with our exponents. Our coefficients. 2 divided by negative 2. Positive divided by a negative is going to lead me to a negative. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So awesome. Now I'm just going to start rewriting stuff. Make my little fraction bar. This a is totally cool, but I'm going to stick a 1 on them. I'm going alphabetically to keep my head on straight. This guy is not okay. So I bring him up, make him positive. And then the b term is just hanging out by himself. And obviously, I need to take this one step further and clean it up. It doesn't need to be a fraction anymore because there's nothing in the denominator, but it is negative. A to the first times a to the first is a to the second. B to the second just comes on over. This might look super scary, but like you're just moving stuff and adding stuff. Don't panic. So here we go. The whole thing is negative. Nothing special there. That 2 is a coefficient. Just comes over because there's nothing else. Let's deal with our a's first. Let's go alphabetically. This guy, cool where he is. And this guy is not. So we bring them to change its location to make it happy and positive. A to the first. All right, I'm done with my coefficients. I'm done with my a's. Let's focus on the b's. This b, not okay where he is. He's very, very negative and sad in the attic. So we bring him downstairs, make him happy, make him positive. B to the first. Done with that. This guy's just fine where he is. And now we're going to have to do what we were doing the other week, last week, and actually multiply them. So 2, a to the second times a to the first. Add them up. Add them up. And that is how you deal with negative exponents.